Thank you for staying with us. The Nala Feminist Collective, in partnership with the government, are hosting the third Nalafem Summit. The summit will serve as a pivotal platform for Africa's women leaders from different sectors, including politics and activism, to convene, share best practices, and cultivate collaborations between public and the civil society. Well, the summit will take place in Windhoek, and I'm now joined by Nalafem's Head of Communications, that's Noella Ngunyam. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today, ma'am.
Good evening, Blanche, and thank you for having me.
Well, as just in the intro, I said that the platform is quite a collective comprising women politicians as well as activists, all advocating for transformative feminist leadership, which is quite interesting. But then again, how did this collective come about?
Nalafem, or Nala Feminist Collective, was born in 2021 from, consultations and workshops with young African women who demanded accountability for the Beijing declarations and the pledges that African governments had made to respecting them. So we went on to take on these consultations and workshops, and out of these came out 10 demands that young African women said, we want our governments to be able to answer to us, where are we with all of this? And those demands are encompassed in a document that we call the African Young Women Beijing Plus 25 Manifesto, and that is what guides Nalafem. So that document, 8 of the 10 demands have been included in the UN Action Coalitions, and it was started at the Generation Equality Forum in Paris in 2021. That is when Nalafem was born. And then women politicians and leaders in Africa, they came together to say, we want to push this agenda forward. We want to join you, because it was founded by our founder and president, Aya Chebi, who is former AU Youth Envoy. And because during her time in office, she noticed that it is imperative that governments answer to us as young women, where are we with everything that's happening and how are we pushing for the gender equality agenda on the continent. So that birthed Nalafem, and today at the top of Nalafem sits 24 formidable women leaders, among whom I'm honored to say is Emma Theophilus, our Minister of ICT here in Namibia, and they are championing the cause we are advocating for.
So you see, then that makes it no coincidence for Namibia to be hosting this summit of Nalafem, seeing that more and more, not only women leaders, but young women leaders, such as the Minister of ICT, have been now in the echelons of power. Now, this time around, hosting this summit here in Namibia, what are the expected outcomes? How would you want the tone to be, and then going forward?
I must say that it's not by coincidence, like you said, that we chose Namibia, because it's no news that on the African continent right now, Namibia is one of the most favorable gender-positive countries. I mean, you literally have achieved the 50-50 representation in parliament that so many countries are vying for. And also because it is such good news that you are in your election phase and there is a woman that is going, to take on the lead in that. And that is the Vice President, who, by the way, is our guest of honor and patron for this summit. And she will be giving the keynote address as well. But it's also nice to see that so many women are accompanying her and they're equally vying for political positions. So we are not just in Namibia because Namibia is committed and dedicated to gender equality, but we are here to support these women, particularly the Vice President, and we're equally here to foster intergenerational dialogue amongst an older and a younger generation of women. So we will be launching what we call the Nalafem 100 initiative. And it is all of these women, these prominent names I've cited, that will come together to hold the hands of younger women and just pull them up the ladder, because we know how difficult it is, especially here on the continent, for young women to get into politics. They face all sorts of barriers, sociocultural ones, limited educational opportunities. Economic empowerment is still a big challenge, but these women are coming together to say, if we did it, then why not the younger ones?
Then why not the young ones? And that is where my next question was, seeing that while Namibia's story may be that of success in terms of being inclusive, in terms of women empowerment, and not just women, but also young women empowerment, what about the countries, your member states, that are lagging behind in terms of just seeing through to implement what is stated in the declarations?
Yeah, we are leaving no one behind. We are not just going with those who are already there. Namibia is, we can say, Namibia is there already, but like you said, there's so many countries that are still pushing for their own agendas. And this is why we have something like the Nalafem Summit, because it's a melting pot. We bring together everyone. It's just women champions, you know, who are pushing in their communities at grassroots level, who are pushing in civil society, who are pushing in the international and multilateral scenes, who are pushing in government and in public spaces. And it is just a way for them to come together and just form this knot, this bond, so that even if you are in a country where gender equality is still a big challenge and you feel like you're never getting there, you know you have the support of these sisters that are standing behind you. And together, all of you go in to push forth your agenda. And that is why we have the summit.
And I see that you have mentioned briefly about the challenges that African women are facing. Now, I see on one of the topics for the summit is the safety of women in politics, which can be a very, very touching ground, especially on the African continent, where male dominance is still entrenched in some countries. So can you expand a bit more on this particular topic, safety of women in politics?
Yes, safety of women in politics, because if the scene is not safe, women cannot get into it. And we are taking a particularly innovative angle, and it's about digitalization, what happens in the digital space. There's a lot of cyber insecurity. Women are harassed online the moment a woman puts forth her candidacy to say, I want to stand for elections, you know, because we are still entrenched in mentalities of the woman needs to be in a traditional role of you cannot be a politician, you cannot lead.
And that you should be in the kitchen.
You should be in the kitchen, the stereotype. So we want to form a space and offer a platform and opportunity where we can begin to discuss and suggest ways to tone down what is happening to women online the moment they say they want to get into politics. We want to address online harassment. We want to address gender-based violence that's happening online. We want to address cyber insecurity. And all of these things that when a young woman in a community, when she looks at it, she tells herself, I don't want to get there. I don't want to be a victim of that. But we want, this summit is that opportunity where those who are already there, like the Theophiluses, the Vice President, Dr. Netumbo, they come together and they now say, it was hard for us. We want to make it easier for you.
The next generation. Now, that's women in politics. What about those in activism?
It's the same thing. Nalafem is really founded on the basis of, like I told you, one word you hear a lot at Nalafem is accountability.
Yes.
Because Nalafem sits at the intersection of governments and communities. We take what the communities need for change to happen in, and then we go to the government and we say, hey, what are you doing about this? You pledged you were going to do this for the populations or for the young women. What are you doing about it? And sitting there really gives us the opportunity to hear from both sides, you know, and be able to advocate for these people, which also means a lot of activism. Just a few months ago, we were actively advocating for a stop to the repeal of the ban on FGM in the Gambia, because that is what Nalafem does. We are not in a square box. We don't fit in a box. So far as everything we do, it helps us to foster, to enable, and to mobilize for transformative feminist leadership, you will find Nalafem there.
And women safety in politics is just one of the topics. Now, just briefly before I love and leave you, what are some of the other topics for the summit?
We will, because we are in Namibia and we don't come to a beautiful country like this and we leave the young girls we see here empty-handed, we are going to be launching a project at the summit that's called Project Tech Her to enable digital access to 100 Namibian girls. And this is by providing them with laptops, digital training, school loans, any opportunities that can help them gain digital skills to be able to gain jobs and improve on their livelihoods. We will equally have what we call the Nalafem Awards, and it's recognizing the work that women and young feminist leaders are doing on the continent. And around all of that, there will be so many beautiful things, yes.
So we just have to watch the space.
You have
That's
to
now
watch.
the summit taking place on the 1st of July in Windhoek.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Blanche.
All right, then that's Nalafem's Head of Communications, Noella Ngunyam, expanding on the summit, Nalafem Summit, that will take place, as I said, in Windhoek on the 1st of July.